Today we'll rank every single nation in HoI4, even you, Uruguay. And we have 3 criteria for this. A, strength, B, replayability, and 3, fun. For example, a nation that is very fun and strong, like Romania, is very great, but there is only one path that you can pick with Romania realistically. You can pick your ideology while doing so, but why would you ever click this button? The largest difference that Romania has is with this tree. This tree doesn't make any sense. I don't want to spend 70 days so that the Soviet Union can put ships into my harbors. And because of that, we have a couple of different tiers. S tier, of course, as always, it is the creme de la creme, the sacre bleu of HoI4. Can be built in any way that you wanted to. It's fun, it's replayable, and it can impact the game immensely. The A tier is still fun, but a bit less replayable, and in general, the campaigns are all pretty much the same. B is something that I would recommend for one playthrough. With C, we come into a territory where it's mid. Like, there's nothing bad about this focus tree, but it's usually a bit more bland than everything else and heavily railroaded. And then, of course, we have this is not a D tier tier, because usually I do not put D tiers in, but with HoI4 there are a couple of nations that might not necessarily be an F tier, but I also wouldn't ever tell you to pick them. F tier, these nations are not fun. They're better off without a focus tree. They actively hurt the game by being in the game. And we gotta hit it off with Aussa. I hate to do this, but this is an A+ nation, which you might say is cheating considering they don't even have a focus tree, but I genuinely say this. Aussa was so fun. My world conquest with Aussa, I learned so much, especially bullshit cheese that you would never learn in a HoI4 game. And that you will also never need in a HoI4 game, but it was just so fun. It's fun because you have to break the game in a certain way. I can't put Aussa in S tier, but it's also more fun than some of the nations in A tier. So it is an honorary A tier. You know what? There we go. Let's put it in A-, because you can only play... Like, when playing Aussa, you have 2 options. You can click this button and the game ends, or you pick the more fun option. Then again, I guess the more fun option is this button. I'm sure at this point it is Stockholm Syndrome, because Aussa was awful to play as. If you delay the event, you have like 50 days before Mussolini comes knocking, and you have to also help the dumb Ethiopian AI, which is the hardest part. The hardest part is not surviving against Italy. The hardest part is, oh fuck, there is a large border that I also have to guard, because Hale does not know how to move a single division. This campaign will stick with me until I have dementia. This campaign will stick with me until I get dementia. This campaign will stick with me until I get dementia. I'm gonna put Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran into the GOE tier. This is one of the cop-outs, because I have played most of these countries, you know, even stuff like Uruguay I have played before. But these 3, admittedly, I have played Afghanistan before, but not this Afghanistan. Nobody asked for them. I tried Iran and Iraq a bit, and then I looked at the rest of their focus tree, and I just asked myself, why would I even bother? They suffer from the same issue as the tier A nations, where every single path is just blobbing into a nation that controls all of the Middle East, and then the Soviets want you, and then the Allies want you, and... there's just not really variety here. India is a little bit different. We'll get to India later. I hate to do this. I hate to do this. Why did I even make a tier list? Why did I even create S, A, B, C, and F? I have 5 nations on my tier list, and not one of them is in one of the tiers that I started with. With Albania, this might be the Stockholm Syndrome talking, but I did enjoy Albania, because you have to fend off against Italy to get the Italian puppet while being Albania, and it was so rewarding. The only reason why I put Albania here and not where most of the other neutral nations, or well, non-focus tree nations are, is because Albania has a very unique situation, you know, that are similar to Austria and Austria before they had a focus tree. You know that war will come to you soon, like with Aussa, whereas if I play Nicaragua, yeah, that's all that's gonna happen. Like, admittedly, with a nation like Bhutan, I also enjoyed my time with Bhutan because I had to fight out of this miserable situation. But with Bhutan, you're not on a timer. Your timer is just, okay, China might go into Tibet at some point. Japan might go into Tibet at some point. The allies will become unbeatable at some point, but you're not, like, you know, you can still beat it by waiting 60 hours. But with Albania, the only way you can wait 50 hours is if you press this button. And I'm gonna be honest, I'd rather not. I wish I was making a bit. I wish I was making this intentionally. I can't ever show my face ever again, man. With the TOA nations, I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't tell you one thing about the focus trees, which is exactly why they're here. Every single one of these 3 nations does the same thing. I got all achievements with these countries and I still do not remember a thing. Like, I think Chile had their native thing somewhere. Yeah, the Mapuche. Argentina can get Hitler. All you do with these 3 nations is just blob into South America. You stall in Brazil or Argentina, depending on which nation you play as. Uruguay joins the allies. You want to start cutting yourself. You slowly march over into America. Then you have to start building a navy. Then you hop onto the British Isles. You defeat them and you get like half of America because Germany has too many points. I just wish not every path was the same. When you pay for a DLC that is worse than a pre-existing mod, why would I ever rank it higher than a C tier? Maybe I would feel different if the achievements were different, but honestly, the tier A achievements were just so bad. They ruined the countries for me. Realistically, the focus trees are fine. I just didn't enjoy my time down there. I think it is time to use the tier list. Australia shall be put into C tier where it belongs. In X months, we're gonna get an update for Australia. And by George, Australia needs it. Oh, did they buff this? Because now you also get an industrial concern. You only used to get the 10% railway construction speed for 70 days. The upside of Australia is it doesn't spit in my face directly, which is why I want to put it into C tier. But it's also not something where I'd ever say, okay, bro, you gotta play Australia. Like, HoI4 Australia, base game vanilla. Believe me, brother, Australia, like you're gonna... Austria! My biggest gripe with Austria is that my campaigns with Austria have all mostly felt the same. You defend against Germany, you form Austria-Hungary strong, or you form Austria-Hungary weak. While this is a fault of mine, I don't think I should play ahistorical to enjoy other paths. With Austria, I can kind of excuse it. Apart from Czechoslovakia, yourself, and then somehow being able to proclaim German leadership as a puppet of Germany, you could not implement that much with Austria in a historical game. It doesn't make sense that Anschluss doesn't happen. I think Paradox did a good job given the circumstances of Austria. It's a fun nation. Being able to also get Poland and such, you get a large blob as Austria very quickly. It's just fun. More than twice I wouldn't play this path, but it's fun. Belgium. You're just a weaker version of the Netherlands in my opinion. It's a bit strange that I don't get the Benelux with the focus tree anymore. Belgium is lacking something for me. You can form the European Union here and you can puppet nations so you get their units. You know, if you give us the EU, you could also just be like, okay, feel free to federalize. I find the concept of the EU in 1936 far more egregious than the EU being able to federalize. But I might just be a radical liberal. We are gonna rank Bhutan, Nepal, Siam, and Tibet together. Since these 4 nations are honestly just there if you want a little bit of a harder China war. Or you want to sit around and do nothing. At that point, you can also just open the console and type observe. Because there is a reason to play as these nations, I'm gonna put them into B- as well. I still enjoyed my time with Albania more than with these 4 nations. It was also interesting for me to blob here and then attack China from the east. And then, you know, you only get a small part of China. So then you have to think about, okay, what am I gonna do next? Like that was kind of interesting. You're gonna get a focus tree, so enjoy your time with the Himalaya nations while it lasts. Bolivia. I am honestly just going to grab all of South America at once, because realistically, there is nothing for you to do here. If you are from British Burma, as it's known nowadays, I'm gonna do you a favor. Congratulations. You are in Z tier for being British. All these new puppets are being put into C tier because honestly, that's the only reason they exist. The A2C series popped off and Paradox just put out more nations so that funny YouTubers can make more content on it, and these funny new nations get the most views, so it's just free PR for Paradox. I don't see why they suddenly had 5 nations and Egypt is still not in the game, even though it is historically relevant. I get it's because of the Free Egypt achievement, but there are ways around this. They can remove the achievement, or they can make it so you have to break free, and people that have Free Egypt keep Free Egypt. Bulgaria! B for Bulgaria. The biggest issue that Bulgaria has is it came out in the Battle for the Bosporus DLC, which means that all of these focuses are fucking long, and you will be able to form the Syria of the Balkans in 1942. By the time that you form your blob, World War II has already started, which translates into you having to scramble an army out of 50 different languages and setting up your production lines, while Germany is already thinking about invading the Soviet Union. I also find the Bulgarian factions a little bit annoying to manage, because I never know which one I have to ban and ally and cooperate and such. Whenever I play Bulgaria, I just have to take a look a little while to check, okay, do I do anything bad to the Svino? Oh, I abolished them here. Just a tad annoying for me to manage. Whereas with, you know, the Soviets, I know I gotta keep my sanity high. With Germany, I know I need to keep the MIFO bills low and Führerprinzip soon. And with Italy, I know that it doesn't fucking matter. The bald man of Europe is gonna fuck me over anyway. Canada is also B tier because while the focus tree is pretty garbo, you have an interesting game depending on how smart the allied AI is. You can build elite units and then just help the US during D-Day, and they man the front, and you just have a couple of units that are snaking the line, that are breaking through. Therein lies the issue with Canada. You rely on the AI, so sometimes you just spend 3 hours building your perfect units, and then the US does fuck all. China! I'm getting lazy. I'm putting everything into B tier, huh? I mean, China is fun for what it is. Like, you fight Japan without having any guns, and then you slowly get stronger. Like, I enjoyed it, but due to how the Sino-Japanese war works, you don't really have a lot of time to change your strategy unless you play ahistorical, and I'd rather start playing League of Legends again than play ahistorical. I personally am also a fan of the faction mechanic, and China does have a fun faction mechanic where you slowly, you take your little tours of the nations and start annexing them, and you become big China. That's kind of fun. Yeah, fuck off. The Congo is just one of the most painful countries in the game. You legitimately have no manpower. You have no industry. You have one civilian factory, which you have to trade away into Belgium. You're being colonized, and colonized by the Belgians of all people. You lose half of your focus tree if you break free. All of this stuff that's over here is gone, apart from, you know, your research slot and the 6 rubber you get here. But you get the model colony, and all of these buffs you lose once you break free. And even if you did your shared focus tree, it takes so long to do anything. 70, 70, 70, 84, 70. The idea is that Belgium helps you do your focus tree as well, but Belgium isn't gonna do the focus tree. They have to worry about their own focus tree. Apart from the 2 meme achievements and the meme of playing the Belgian Congo, you will never play as it. Czechoslovakia, if you remove the Czech focus tree as it is right now, which Paradox will do in a couple of months. Is this? I'm not one to shame sizes, but come on. Look at this. And then look at the fucking Belgian Congo. I come from a timeline where Paradox made a DLC about a single nation, and it's not even good. Initially, my opinion of Czechoslovakia was it is a B nation because it's the primary nation that is supposed to defend against Germany. With this new DLC that I have in my timeline, there's one good path. And it's fucking dumb going down here to expand the union, because you can just demand regime changes and demand them to become your puppet. And the great thing is, you can even do this to Turkey. Habsburg over here. And you might say, well, that's not Habsburg, that's the Central European Federation. Which I honestly would have preferred if this was just a rehash of the European tree. But it's not even that. You just ask Austria and Hungary to join your federation, and then you form the European Federation, which is just Austro-Hungary. And then you can also go fascist, which is just Austro-Hungary, but you don't get Austria, you just guarantee them. Then you can get this tree, and there is genuinely not a single reason to pick this tree. Not even as a meme path. Because all this does is go through the historical branch. You give up the Sudetenland, and then you can become a German puppet, and then, if somebody is at war with Germany, you just go into exile. You can just do this tree. You can just do this tree without spending those focuses. You just buff Germany by doing this, because you do the German tree for them. If the Netherlands, a country that came out 8 years ago, has a better capitulation path, with it only having one single focus that is related to capitulation, that says everything you need to know about the quality of this. I like to play as Czechoslovakia before, because you have your little defense against Germany. If you do little entente or any amount of expansion, Germany is not going to declare war on you. You will have to wait for Danzig or war. And that just kinda sucks a little bit. But yeah, Czechoslovakia is still a B tier. Just go expand the union, have some fun. Denmark, Norway, Finland, and Sweden. They are all part of the same group, which means we're all gonna put them into the same oh fuck, I slept. While they're all fun, their Fox tree has one of the biggest problems, which is no manpower, no industry. Then every single country feels the same way, regardless of which path you take. And what I like about this is you usually have your little Scandi block that you can form, or you can also go for an aggressive invasion of the other nations. But you will never pick the Scandi block, even if you lose your shared focus tree, and it's kind of fun for OP. Without the other countries, you just have no cores, you have no manpower, no industry. You can't even field a full field marshal. AI allies are just such a huge waste of resources. And then that just leaves you in a situation where, unless you want to play neutral Finland or neutral Sweden, you always have to fight the Soviets and the Germans at the same time, regardless of which path you take. For me, they are on the verge of a B tier. I might bump them down, depending on the time of day. They can be fun, they're interesting. Sometimes they are just, fuck Sweden for the bullshit that is their VPs. They can control nothing but a single tile in Gotland. I've seen Sweden still hold out without even holding Visby. They just held this tile. They didn't have their little Per Albin school bus. No, they just held this without anything else, and they didn't die. I've probably lost 3 years of my life of the stress that is Gotland. And if I was funny, I would also say something like, oh, Paradox is from Sweden, so of course I have to put Sweden into F tier. If it weren't for Sweden, I wouldn't be here right now complaining about Sweden. I feel like my allies, my opinion of the allies will be the most controversial thing in this list. Okay, maybe the fact that I put Aussa above 80% of the countries in the game is also a little bit controversial. But the only two negative things I can say about the UK is that they don't have a shared focus tree. And keeping the colonies aligned with the fascist coup is mostly just tedious. It's not hard. You simply have to ask your dominions for their puppets, and then you can position them into the VPs, but it's just so tedious, especially because you have to give everyone the correct amount. It would be nicer if you just had to position 40,000 manpower in the Raj rather than 9,000 in Delhi, 3,000 in Ahmedabad, 2,100 in Bombay, 6,000 in Calcutta. Their democratic path is also decently fun with a varying amount of challenge if you want to let France fall or you want to hold old France. The fascist path has a handsome fella, and then the King's Party. You have your Imperial Federation that you can get with the fascists in 1936. I'm also very excited what they will do with the shared focus tree with the Imperial Federation if the UK ever gets an updated focus tree, because the focus tree is very outdated. The decolonization path is dumb, the communist path is dumb. A lot of this stuff is a little bit boring and medium in terms of usefulness. Like the no further appeasement is nice because you can declare on democratic nations, but apart from like prepare for the inevitable, there's not really anything in this little tree that you want. Most of the fun of the UK comes in the situation that they're in, and then getting like the King's Party or the black shirts and then rushing down here, and that is it. The Aussa campaign will stick with me until I get dementia. Next, we can rank all 3 Baltic nations, which is, of course, Estonia and Lithuania. It's a little bit weird that there's only 2 Baltic nations, not 4, but Paradox is an indie company, so at the end of the day, I can understand a little bit of historical inaccuracy. Both have the cool bonus that every single path is fun. You can fight Germany or the Soviets. I personally will always love the communist path, because if you're Lithuania, you just pop out Belarus and you have no border with them, and then you just call them. It looks so dumb. And Stalin will just accept it. He's not gonna do anything about it. The issue with Latvia is just there's no reason to play Latvia. They have the communist tree, which everyone has. They have the democratic tree, which nobody cares about. And then you have Ostland. And when one of your paths is the German occupation zone that they created for a bunch of Slavs, I don't think that's something that cool if I was a Latvian. Ethiopia is honestly not as fun in reality as it is in digital paper, since you just have nothing. You have no time to prepare. Your focus tree is just not super interesting. Plus, I fucking hate what Ethiopia does with Africa every single time. In late game, they just start releasing 50 different nations, and you just have to go to bumfuck Chad because they have 60% resistance, and you're right now cleaning up your world conquest in Bolivia. Ethiopia is a decent practice to learn division cycling, but that's about it. I wouldn't wish Ethiopia upon my neighbor. France is one of my highest B tiers because France has by far the worst focus tree of any major now. You can make the argument that the US is worse, but you know, France and the US definitely have the worst focus trees. This little tree over here is ass. Army reform tree is pretty bad. The communist tree is dog shit. There's no reason to ever go down here unless you want to play Little Entente, but you know, like buy time is useless. Then you have the fascist or the monarchist paths, and brother, what are you doing? 3 building slots? This is the most interesting one. Chasule Deluge. Maybe the fascist path. Like the fascist path with the Latin Entente is kind of cool, but the main fun of France is just that you have to fight Germany. You know, you also have a decent amount of colonies that you have to defend, which is North Africa. You also have the option of playing as Free France or Vichy France, but both of them are miserable. I could rank the next nations properly, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anybody could tell a difference. So I'm just gonna save myself the retention time because nobody also cares. The only difference with the different Chinas is just their starting nation, their starting position. And yes, they have the little tree here where you can rally around the Long Yun, or you can become the Beijing government. And that's neat and all, but I don't care. Like, with how small they are, I'm just more interested in playing as the big seaman and gobbling them up. Apart from, once again, content creators making a video about Khotan Ma, I don't really see why you would play as these nations. Now the big man up top. Actually, I shouldn't phrase it like that. Like, they are the protagonists of HoI4. I genuinely think that historical Germany is one of the most fun nations that you can play as. You have the strongest MIOs, you have Hitler's incel circle doing focuses for you. There's a bunch of quick focuses here. The only thing that I have to admit is a little bit disappointing for me are the alternate paths, because while the monarchist path is incredibly dumb strong for just getting all of Europe for free, that's kind of the only interesting path. And the biggest issue with these is you lose out on the incel circle, and I just like the incels, man. In game. Greece is a little bit lower than Bulgaria for me, simply because they realistically only have one cool path, which is the Byzantium path, and that takes so long. Like, the communist path is crap. I don't want to put the king out of the gay baby jail because, like, there's also nothing here. The Netherlands, in terms of paths, are very enjoyable. There's a lot to fix, and you have your little minigame with the UK and Germany. And apart from the communist focus tree, all of them are actually kind of fun. I've played all of them at least twice, which is not something I can say about all of the Germany paths. I've played this one very often. I can't say the same about the communist Germany path. The only issue I have is that the tree is a little bit slow, and the Dutch are in a pretty bad spot early on, which means you either have to defend against Germany without the Allies doing anything, or you have to go for a semi-cheese against France. You know, otherwise if you join Germany, they will just sit around doing nothing until the Americans arrive. With Hungary, they are honestly, their fascist path is the most boring one, which is, I guess, understandable because they didn't really do a lot, the fascists. Communist path is fine, which is a little bit unusual because usually the communist paths are abysmal or really good. So something that's the middle of the pack is a little bit unusual. And then with the Habsburg path, that one is not that different from the Austria Habsburg path, except that you can get Mexico. But when I tried that path, that didn't work because at some point Mexico will have a civil war and then your Habsburg will just get deposed even if he wins. I can't really differentiate Austria and Hungary, so I will just put Hungary above Austria since Hungary has a bit more variety. The Dutch East Indies and British Malaya, they do have a unique place. You have a ton of manpower and resources, but there is just not much else. You just have to wait for Japan to invade you, so I'm gonna put them both into D tier. Iceland. Iceland just exists as a meme nation that starts as a puppet for content creators because it has a bad focus tree and not a lot of time before being handed around in the Allies like a sock. I mean, it's fine. Iceland, it's Iceland. What the fuck are you gonna do with Iceland? It's fine for what it is. It's just one of those nations that I'm not sure what the point of Iceland is apart from giving YouTubers a thumbnail. Ireland, same deal, no content, like... Sorry for my Irish viewers, your DLC will come at some point. I pray for you that it's not made by Paradox. Italy! I love the Italo-Ethiopian War. In-game. I love Mussolini's dumb little side quests. I love how you can get the 1940 fighter in like 1938. And there is a decent amount of variety where I enjoy every path that you can take. I don't think any single Italian path is bad. Well, maybe this one. Maybe the Italian socialism one. But there is also a democratic path that is fun, which is not something you can say a lot. I'd say that historically is the worst one. The only upside is you get to keep his side quests. The communist one gives you twice as many spies as people that lived in Europe at that time. The monarchist one can give you the Pope with his own little tiny tree. And then with the democratic one, you can get Mare Nostrum, which allows you to declare war on other democratic nations, even if you are democratic. The only downside of Italy is that the Italian Civil War exists, and that is honestly the dumbest and most annoying mechanic. Even if I'm not playing Italy, I don't want the Italian puppet most of the time. And it's just forced upon me. It's been improved. It was much worse when Italy came out, but it's still one of the things where I'm like, brother. Japan is a little bit hard to rank since the base gameplay is very fun. You have an early war against a weak enemy that you can defeat within half a year if you do it properly. And then you have a build-up period against the US, you know, and also getting all of the resources in Indonesia. It really gives you the feeling that you're turning your country into a superpower. The main problem is just that the AI can't deal with the navy changes, so you are gonna fight 5 cruisers with your death stack, and then like the build-up of your navy is kind of useless. You know, depending on how you feel about island hopping, that's also one issue. I initially wanted to put Japan into A, but I think S is fine. I'm just personally a little bit burned out of HoI4 after the last 2 DLCs, but I don't think it's fair to judge Japan for that. While Luxembourg doesn't really have anything special to offer, they are a minor that has to defend against German aggression. That's fun for one playthrough, just trying to break the game. Manchukuo is just a mixture of the China-Japan gameplay. You don't have manpower, you don't have industry. That gives you the option of either joining China to dunk on Japan, or you hope that Japan gives you a lot of land after being a nice little puppet. You can make the argument that it's the same path as the China path. you know, just easier because you don't have to immediately take on Japan, but that's just more annoying. If you want to play as a Japanese puppet, you don't have to play as Meng Jiang, you can also just play as Manchukuo. Mexico doesn't really have a lot of variety here, but it's still a very fun nation in my opinion. You can conquer and core all of Central America, and you can also go for the early US cheese. It's just neat that you're not really restricted by your ideology for these things. The only downside is that Stalin can just kill Trotsky and you can't really do anything about it. But Mexico is still one of the more fun nations for having not that interesting of a focus tree. It has a couple of interesting bits here. This entire side, I don't care. Like, it's just nice for getting the research slot and such, but still a very fun nation in my opinion. You are getting put right up here. Mongolia and Tanatuva. There is no content here apart from creating a dumb meme nation. Admittedly, one thing that's cool about these is that you have Big Daddy Stalin in your faction and you can just drag him into wars that he's not really interested in, so that's kind of interesting. At that point, just play the Soviet Union. New Zealand! This is genuinely just Australia, but worse. There is nothing you can do here. Not even as aggressive Kiwi you get anything. The fascist tree is join Japan. That is the entire fascist tree. We also need another tier for the Philippines because they have potential. The thing with the Philippines is that they have the potential to be very fun. Having to fend off against Japan or even joining them, you know, getting MacArthur, getting the Spanish Empire. There is a lot you could do with the Philippines. The issue is just that Japan right now is far too dumb to navally invade you. And then you're just sitting on your hands wondering which one goes numb first. So if they fix the Japanese AI, this could honestly go up to A tier or something. Maybe B tier. Actually, A minus. I'd say A minus is probably fine. But right now there's just not anything to do as the Philippines. Poland. I do think the Soviet Union tree is more fun than the Polish tree, but the Polish tree is just so good. Like, every single path here is good, is fun. I wouldn't ever touch this tree over here, but you know, the Senation stuff is kind of interesting. And the Costa King is a little bit overshadowed by Anastasia. Such a good nation, such a fun nation. Every monarchist path has something unique. The fascist path exists. The communist path is good. I've heard that the democratic path is fun, but before I do that, I will honestly just move to the Philippines and become a Hello Kitty Island adventure YouTuber before I play Poland Democratic in HoI4. I haven't played Portugal as much as I would like to, but it's still a very fun nation. Simply because nobody will attack you. The British will never invoke their alliance. The Germans will never even do Operation Felix. So you could just wipe while Europe gasses itself. And then you also have the OP fascist path here where you can't join factions. It's just a fun, good old and perfect medium power for me. Brother, I'm just gonna put them up here. Like, the Soviets are so fun. If the Soviets had an ahistorical tree, I might actually put them into SS tier, but this tree is so fun. You just shoot all of your generals. You create a booming industry if you do your focuses in correct order. You can use propaganda on your men. And then, you know, holding against Germany without moving a single tile. It's just such a comfort nation for me. Pure, simple fun. Oh, actually, I'm an idiot. I just saw the red flag and my neurons were activated. I didn't even see that this was the PRC flag. While I do enjoy the PRC's gameplay, they only have two paths, one of which is abysmal. The infiltration mechanics are just so poorly executed. You'll waste all of your PP on just a Guangxi clique, and then in 1963 you can fight China. Or you form your own bloc against China, which just kinda sucks because of the state that you're in early game. You get like 4 PP a day, which is nice. You have the most broken advisors and military staff. It's just a pain to get out of this hole. With India, I can only speak for the East India Company path, but that one was very fun. It was also super unique. I'm just always down for a path where you integrate puppets a little bit more than HoI4 does in base game. Romania is a perfect A nation for me, because it is in itself fairly boring. The only path that makes sense is the Balkan domination path. That one is super fun because you can just unite everyone in 1936 because all you need is manpower. If you don't care about getting anything in a peace deal, you can also just swap factions and sides in the middle of the war. You could fight with Germany, join the Soviets, as Romania declare war on the Allies, join the Allies, and then suddenly the Soviets are at war with the Allies. There's no variety here, but I just love that Romania is such a simple nation without any guardrails. Between having to post naked pictures for me online or saying more than 3 sentences about this focus tree, I'll take the naked pictures. What does this focus tree offer? Need I repeat myself why they land here? Oh, looks like a China escaped me. I hate the Spanish Civil War. It's just a grind. And artificially so. It's not because I do something wrong, it's just the game saying, yo, this is a cutscene, you gotta wait an hour. And then afterwards you have only half a country. You have to waste a ton of army XP, guns and PP on coring the other half, which means you usually core Portugal before you core your own country again. On a surface level, I hate Spain because of this, and it's definitely a C tier for me, but the anarchists are fun. For more details, I did make a video where I played every single Spain path and ranked them, but honestly, I just like this. I just like this focus. Every couple of months, I just want to play Switzerland because it does sound fun. Just be a diplomatic asshole that exploits both sides, pins them down against each other, hunkers down militarily, and then let the allies and Axis bleed themselves dry against you. But then you play them, and the focus tree is a confusing mess that you can brick yourself out of if you don't manage your ideology and your balance of power in the correct. Every campaign is just the same. There is no incentive to go off the beaten path. It's probably a B tier if I'm being honest, since you can still enjoy it for one playthrough. Congratulations, you've been promoted. The Turkish focus tree is mostly just a disappointment. If it wasn't this large, I would like it more, but as it is, you just have to slog through so much before you're allowed to do anything. The most fun path is going to intervene in the Spanish Civil War and then just using the fact that you can justify earlier to just get a little bit of early expansion going, because otherwise you're just not doing anything. If we're just talking Ottomans, I honestly have to put them below Bulgaria because it's just so slow to do anything down here. Still worse than Aussa. If we're ignoring the minor nations, I think this will be my most controversial take. I almost put the US into S tier, but I think the focus tree is a little bit too whack for that. The alt history paths are kind of fun. It's just not anything super deep. The thing is just, I find base US to be super fun. You just get to waste taxpayer money and build every single ship, plane and tank that you could ever imagine. And then you just sit back while Europe and China burns. And then once Japan and Germany are soft, you go in with a quick strike and end the war by Christmas. And of course I have to end this video with another bad opinion. In case the other ones weren't too bad for you just yet. Because Yugoslavia does not really have a good focus tree. But I really like the limited self-government path here. Creating 50 different puppets, especially because the AI doesn't declare war on puppets. You just sit in Serbia and are not connected to Germany or the Italians, and then you're just sitting there and they are not declaring war on you. It's just fun to circumcise your country. Not much variety here, but you know, just a fun nation. What do you think? How bad is this tier list? And after you subscribed, you should watch this video where I ranked every single general trait in HoI4.